Hello again, everybody. The Bearded Prepper here. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about something that it's kind of near and dear to my heart. Some people might be curious why. I'll explain. And also it really has become ingrained in me from a very young age, and just it's part of who I am. It's part of the fiber that makes up my being as a person. And it kind of leads to the prepper mentality, which is not passing any opportunity by. You see, I'll explain what that means. My grandfather, for example, he was our only neighbor when I grew up in Alabama, and down in the deep south there weren't as many people as in a lot of places around the country. So like I said, they were only neighbors, so I spent a lot of time with him. We did a lot of fishing, we did a lot of hunting. Well, really, we did a lot of living. And one thing about my grandfather, he grew up during the Depression, the Great Depression. He was a child then into his later teen and young adult life. But the fact is, Great Depression or not, my folks were just survivors. They were just farmers. They were just living and getting by. They were living off the land. They were raising their own food. They were really independent of the rest of the world. So, when the Great Depression hit, if you were already pretty much self-sufficient, life probably wasn't as easy, but you weren't as stressed and just at risk of dying any more than you were before when the Depression did hit, like a lot of other people that had become dependent on society and mercantile goods and things of that nature. But part of that lifestyle, and I'll be honest with you, part of, I think, the personality shift in the people that grew up in that era, it was probably part of their everyday life already. It just became exacerbated once the Depression hit, was not passing any opportunity by. My grandfather used to tell me stories about walking to school as a young boy. Back then they only went through about the 6th or 7th grade, maybe the 8th grade if you were lucky. After that, you were, pretty much going out to work every day. And before and after school, you worked as well. So, wasn't like these days. There wasn't a whole lot of boop, 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 boop. It was a whole lot of dragging a hoe or digging with a shovel. But he said with their slingshot, they used to, kill a rabbit or two on the way to school in the morning times when they were all out drinking the dew and moving around. They'd gut them, hang them up in a bush so nothing could get them, and grab them on the way home, and that was dinner. When my grandfather died, he had buckets, 5-gallon buckets, just old nails, old bent rusty nails, screws, bolts, whatever, kind of like where I get it from. If I pass a really good bolt, especially these days how expensive they are, especially the hard bolts, or good screws, let's face it, I probably have a problem, folks. I even pick up zip ties. Anything that I'm passing by, I'm not out of much, I just pick it up, put it in my pocket, bring it home. I've got, scrap bolts, scrap screws, things of that nature. Heck, I'm always looking around as I'm moving around, especially near a construction site. If I'm walking down the sidewalk in a town or whatever, you find screwdrivers. I found rubber mallets. Heck, I even found a pair of bolt cutters one time that were in the grass on the right of way. All kind of things. Just don't pass any opportunity by. Even if you don't have a need for that bolt today, I can't tell you how many times I've scratched a bolt out of my bucket or out of my bin. For those of you guys out there that work on a lot of stuff and try to take care of your own stuff, you've done the same thing. You don't pass any opportunity by. And it extends beyond, just finding hardware and things of that nature. Or seizing a meal if you're in a self-sustaining lifestyle where you're trying to get by. But even like that right there, that's a nice pint jar of some of the most delicious peach jam you'll ever have. And I didn't go pick these peaches. I didn't even buy those peaches. Those peaches were discard peaches. Now I did have to go through them and put some elbow grease into it, a little bit of sweat equity, if you will, and cut the bad parts off of those peaches and discard it so that I only kept the good pieces. But I was able to get 2 quarts of fresh, delicious peach jam preserved that'll last a long time on the shelf out of discard peaches. So, you know, you have to ask yourself, are you a survivor? Do you want to be prepared? Do you want to pay for the convenience of going to the store? You know what? If you're wealthy and you can, more power to you. That leaves more opportunities for the rest of us. But as for me, I don't pass any opportunity by. You know, it was ingrained in me from a young age, and I guess it'll never get out of me. Who knows? My kids may pick it up for me. I hope so. The other thing I still do is I pick up pennies. I see some people that won't go out of their way or bend over, take the effort to pick up a penny, but you know what? You do that 100 times, you got $1. It's the way I see it. And it's a shame to get to the point in your life where you're so complacent you become wasteful. And you know, there may come a day when you say, oh man, I just wish I had a little something to eat. Or man, if I just had 2 more screws, I could do this. Or if I just had, you know, $2 more, I could do this. So think about that as you're going about your daily life. As you walk down the sidewalk and you see that bundle full of zip ties laying there, or you see that handful of screws, you know, pick them up. You probably saved someone else's tire, and you might have something down the road where you need those screws. Let me just show you a few of the things that I've done. If you've been following along, you would have seen some of the projects I've taken on where I just used what I had. Stick around, I'll come back. There's a bunch of leftover scraps and mostly peach, overripened peach parts. You can see the girls love it. Cuts down on your feed consumption and gives them lots of essential vitamins and minerals. Gave them my old corn cobs there for them to peck that too. You gotta be resourceful. You know, this kind of stuff will go a long way if you can't buy any of that stuff there. Bugs and your scraps will carry chickens a long ways in a survival situation. Be smart and use what you have. Of course, I showed you guys in a couple of videos already the broken flower pot that's famous for growing carrots. That's the end of my crop this year. I've already eaten quite a few. Being resourceful, using what you got. There's the infamous chicken pen made from a scrap pile. The only purchase was this little bit of chicken wire on the front and that side over there. All of this mesh I had left over from another project. That is an old brake drum off of a city bus. I've used it some for forging, but buried it with some ventilation, and that's my stake for my adjustable grill and griddle rack. Makes a great little cooking place. Trees make a good frame for raised beds. No need to purchase expensive materials if you can use what you have. There you have it. Everything from, you know, when I built my garden, if you watch that, I had some cross ties that someone didn't want, I took, but that wasn't enough material, so I cut down poplar trees and cut up some poplar trees and used that to frame in my raised bed garden and my little potato patch. I used a scrap pile that was on my place when I moved in to build a chicken pen. I know what some of you are saying. That chicken pen looks like it was built out of a scrap pile, but you know what? The only money I have in it is the just a few dollars to buy one small roll of chicken wire to finish it out. And it doesn't leak. If you saw the rocket stove, you know, that was a leftover piece of my chimney flue that was here on the property. Those of you that watched and saw my early spring garden and those little narrow raised beds, did you notice those raised beds were bordered by about 1,000 bricks? There was a pallet full of bricks left here on the edge of the woods when I moved in, so I didn't know what else to do except make raised beds out of them. You know, there's just 1,000 different things that you can do if you're living to do what you can with what you have where you're at. And if you can learn to get in that mindset of being self-sufficient and surviving, when the time comes that it really counts and you can't go to the store, or you can't afford to go to the store if the economy's that bad or if the situation's that bad, you'll be able to get by because you've been practicing that mindset. You've become accustomed, it's become second nature to you just to not pass any opportunity by. You know, a couple years ago, we found strawberries at the end of the season for $1 a quart. I mean, that's dirt cheap for strawberries. We bought 20 of them, made a bunch of jam, dehydrated a bunch of them that'll last for years in the freezer, vacuum sealed, and ate as many as we wanted fresh. So, you know, those kind of opportunities, or the free opportunities where you just happen to come upon stuff. Now look, if you just happen to come upon something and it's in someone else's shed or in someone else's garage or someone else's truck, that's called stealing. Don't do that. But if you find, you know, lost bolts, screws, tools on the street, on the road, whatever, pick it up, put it in your preps, put it in your toolbox. You may need it someday. So that's the best advice I can give you today, is just to adopt a mindset of using what you have, not passing any opportunity by. If you see an opportunity, even if it's just a screw to get ahead, you're only out of just bending over or stooping over. Take advantage of it. Be prepared. I encourage you to seek the wisdom of our Lord and Savior most of all. God bless. I'm the Bearded Prepper, signing off.